Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, when she became America's first black First Lady, Michelle Obama made history. And she leaves an unprecedented legacy, making the position her own with her work on health and education. Today, she took her leave of the White House, for now at least. Simeon Brown reports on the indelible mark she leaves, both in America and here, where she made a very personal impact on a generation of schoolgirls.
Walking out for the last time, Michelle Obama dedicated her final speech as First Lady to America's young people.
Be empowered. Empower yourselves with a good education. Then get out there and use that education to build a country worthy of your boundless promise.
It's been almost a decade since Michelle Obama became the first African-American woman set to occupy the office of First Lady.
I wake up every morning in a house that was built by slaves. And I watch my daughters, two beautiful, intelligent black young women, playing with their dogs on the White House lawn.
Michelle Obama now leaves office as one of the most popular figures in global politics. Her popularity even surpassed her husband. She was the not-so-secret weapon of his 2012 re-election campaign, a trick the Democrats hoped to repeat in 2016, when she condemned the Republican candidate's rhetoric on minorities and women.
And I can't believe that I'm saying that a candidate for president of the United States has bragged about sexually assaulting women. And I have to tell you that I can't stop thinking about this. It has shaken me to my core in a way that I couldn't have predicted.
She rarely mentioned the president-elect by name, and during a divisive campaign, she refused to play dirty.
When someone is cruel or acts like a bully, you don't stoop to their level. No, our motto is, when they go low, we go high.
But with Michelle Obama, the tone was not always serious.
Hey there.
She could do playful.
I hear you're here for a 145 tour.
Like a fool, I went and stayed too long.
From campaigns to cameos in entertainment TV, Michelle Obama seemed a natural, but brand experts are sure that every step was carefully choreographed.
The world goes into it. And so this is really looking at things from hair to clothes to diction. People don't wake up and become Michelle Obamas. That takes time, that takes effort, and that takes an almighty great team as well to put you together.
How has she done that? How has she constructed this popular identity?
She's been very smart. She's been very smart in the kinds of campaigns that she's aligned herself with.
One of those campaigns was Let's Girls Learn, launched with the support of these students in East London, whom she visited in 2015.
She bent down and whispered to my ear that this is amazing, your school is amazing, and these girls are amazing, and that was just an amazing
How did that make you feel?
Feeling. Like, I was so overwhelmed. I couldn't believe that the First Lady of America was saying that to me.
When we met Michelle Obama, we were really excited and we were waiting at the table, and she said that no matter what your background is, that you can accomplish anything with determination.
It was amazing because Michelle Obama, in the short time that she had, she really empowers you, and you leave that room feeling so special and just like you can take on the world.
With that in mind, it's no surprise that Michelle Obama's final public speech as First Lady was at a ceremony for school counsellors, where she reinforced the message of hope.
That is what moves this country forward every single day. Our hope for the future and the hard work that hope inspires.
And with that, her 8-year term was closing, without a single scandal and with so much applause.
Being your First Lady has been the greatest honor of my life, and I hope I've made you proud. Thank you.
Well, I'm joined from Chicago now by Laura Schwartz, who worked with President Bill Clinton during his 8 years in the White House. Where do you rank Michelle Obama and her legacy in the history of First Ladies?
Thank you very much for having me. You know, there's such a difficult way to rank them because every First Lady has brought together great platforms and incredible passion. But I heard from people that were in the room today with Michelle Obama that there was not a dry eye in the House. And those specific campaigns that you mentioned in the piece right before me definitely will be part of her legacy, not only as First Lady, but as what she chooses to do with her life going forward. Let's Move initiative, empowering children, letting young women around the world have access to education. All of those things will be on the forefront of her mind, as well as reflecting on the tragic events of today in America with the shooting at the Fort Lauderdale airport. She has never shied away from talking about the need for gun control, for the fact that Chicago, where I am today, has been very crime-ridden with shootings, and it's something she and her husband, I believe, will keep great focus on even after the new president-elect is sworn in on January 20th.
Do you think we've seen the last of her? I mean, she's been pretty clear that she doesn't see a political career for herself for now.
No, she's not going to run for politics anytime soon. But I think that has nothing to do with burying the fact that she'll become a great advocate. Again, to carry on those legacy changes that she wanted to take from the White House and make sure that, number one, they're not dismantled by an incoming administration, but number two, that the children who now that get more healthy, nutritional meals at school for lunch and the additional ones having breakfast have that chance going forward, that doesn't get cut. So I think she'll be an extreme advocate, but she'll do that as a private citizen with always the more heightened attention.
Laura Schwartz, thank you very much.
And finally, few would argue that Michelle Obama has made an extraordinary impact as First Lady, and in a tearful final speech in that role today, she gave a message of hope for America. Her global profile since she became into the limelight as the wife of President Obama at times even seemed to outshine her husband's. She possesses no shortage, of course, of star quality, but her gifts as a speaker gave her a genuinely substantial public presence. When Michelle Obama talked, the world often listened. And it is as a role model to young people that she made a special name for herself. So it was appropriate, perhaps, that with her parting words, her voice breaking with emotion, she thanked them for their faith in her.
We're almost at the end.
Her last words as First Lady, and they were familiar ones. While America still deals with deep division, Michelle Obama was talking hope and the need for unity.
You see, our glorious diversity, our diversities of faiths and colors and creeds, that is not a threat to who we are. It makes us who we are.
She did not mention Donald Trump by name today, but during the election campaign was the most effective voice against him.
When someone is cruel or acts like a bully, you don't stoop to their level. No, our motto is, when they go low, we go high.
Michelle Obama transformed the role of First Lady, supporting her husband through 2 bruising terms and using the platform to champion her own causes. Education was her passion, her message to the young expressed in rap. Michelle Obama developed a special bond with the Mulberry School in East London, visiting it to launch her global initiative, Let Girls Learn. Today, pupils who met the First Lady in London and later visited her in the White House talked of her lasting impact.
You know, they say never meet your heroes, but with Michelle Obama, that's totally not the case. She's just amazing, and meeting her made her that much more inspirational, because you see that she's just a normal person.
You're live to the White House now, where we are expecting First Lady Michelle Obama to give her final speech as the First Lady of the United States. This has seen her in the role for the last 8 years, where she has championed a number of issues, including education, fitness, military families. She has spoken about her role as a First Lady and supporting her husband. Initially, she gained a bit of criticism after 1 or 2 people accused her of perhaps not taking enough of a passive, supportive role. She was very vocal in her opinions, once commenting that she had concerns about her husband becoming the President of the United States because of the effect that would have on her family. So we are expecting Michelle Obama, the First Lady, to speak imminently. We will bring you that as and when we get it. But for now, let's talk to Steve Ehrlinger, who is from the New York Times. Always good to speak to you, Steve. 8 years in the role as a First Lady. How do you think Michelle Obama has evolved in that time?
Well, I think she's done magnificently, first of all. She's been dignified. She's raised 2 nice kids. There hasn't been a hint of scandal from the White House of any kind. And how has she evolved? I think she's learned how to be popular. I mean, she's very bright. She's gone to very good schools. She's a lawyer. She was her husband's boss for a while. But the job of First Lady is very difficult, and she's kind of censored herself to some degree, as everyone does. Hillary Clinton hated being First Lady because of that. But Michelle Obama has pushed things like nutrition and fitness and exercise and opportunity, particularly for young women. She's come to Britain and talked about those things to young British girls too. So she's been very good, but one also has the sense, particularly toward the end of the campaign, where she made a couple speeches deeply critical of Donald Trump and his comments about women, that there is a lot of passion there waiting to come out, and perhaps we'll get more of it once she leaves the White House.
And on that point, after the speeches that she gave during the presidential campaign, there was a bit of a Twitter frenzy with a lot of people calling for her to stand for elected office. You get the sense that her fortunes in terms of the public perception of Michelle Obama has changed. When she first came into the role, there were 1 or 2 people who were quite critical that she wasn't perhaps a passive, silent supporter of her husband. She was very vocal in her opinions, in her thoughts. She'd raised issues about becoming First Lady and her husband becoming president because the effect that would have on the family. It seems that now that has really changed from criticism to her very much being the darling of the United States.
Well, she has done that. I mean, I don't think she's changed all that much. She's just learned better how to present herself and the way to present herself. I mean, she's, really done a very good job at touching issues that appeal to all Americans, which have to do with children and their education and people's health, their nutrition. Now, she's also been talking out, more loudly for equal opportunity, issues of race, which she was very quieter about earlier. But I expect she's not interested in public office. I think she's seen the toll it's taken on her husband. I don't think she has the natural ease that he has or the desire. As she's a lawyer, I think she wants to do something important. They're talking about having some kind of foundation. I would expect her to have a big impact when she leaves the White House, but not as a public official.
We spoke very briefly about the different causes that she championed, whether that was education, whether that was military families, the initiatives that she led. Do you think that she was a real driving force in terms of setting her own personal agenda on Washington? And do you think that was successful?
Well, one tends to overestimate these things. I mean, it's a big country and it moves very slowly. I think she has a positive impact, that's for sure. Did she change things forever? No, nobody ever really does. But I think she will leave the White House with a great deal of affection from broad swathes of American life and some pride that she got through it without blowing up. The Obamas had been rumored from time to time to have difficulties. I'm sure she has strong views about policies too, but she dealt with those quietly and with a great degree of grace. And I think she'll be much missed. It'll be very different now with Melania Trump, who is a much shyer person and who I think will spend a lot of time out of Washington with their young son, who's 10, who is in school. And I think Melania Trump has no real interest in being the kind of public first lady that Michelle Obama learned how to be.
You mentioned Hillary Clinton wasn't the type of first lady that wanted to keep silent. I mean, how would you compare Michelle Obama to her predecessors, Hillary Clinton and Mrs. Bush?
Well, Laura Bush was very different. I mean, in the sense that she was very much a helpmeet, more traditional. She was a librarian. She met her husband pretty young. She was very good influence on her husband. She was very religious. She is very religious, and she turned him more toward religion. She got him to stop drinking, which was very important for his life and his career, but in general kept herself way in the background, though she has wit. Hillary Clinton, was, a lawyer, very smart, very ambitious on her own. You could see that later, and went into the White House with her husband intending to be a kind of pair. I mean, you get two presidents for the price of one. But at that time, certainly the United States didn't want that. And her efforts to push
Ladies
through
and gentlemen,
health care
2016
were very unsuccessful.
We hear a lot this phrase that a week. Oh, in fact, is that Michelle Obama about to take the stage? Let's have a listen in what's going on in Washington. Okay, just want to remind our viewers of what we're looking at. These are the 2017 School Counselor of the Year Awards. It is an initiative that First Lady Michelle Obama had established and initiated back in 2015 to highlight high school counsellors who have demonstrated leadership skills. It was part of her Reach Higher program to promote higher education. So Michelle Obama there will be speaking in a few moments' time, where she'll be addressing the public and speaking to counsellors ahead of for these awards. It will be her very last public speech as the First Lady of the United States. Well, let's talk to Stephen Langer, who's still there from the New York Times, the London bureau chief of the New York Times. And Steve, we often hear this phrase, don't we, that politics, a week is a long time in politics. To what extent do you think people will be... You spoke a little bit earlier on about the fact that you thought that Melania Trump will probably not be in the limelight as much as Michelle Obama was. So to what extent do you think the public will miss that, and to what extent do you think they'll just move on ahead of the new administration?
I think they'll simply have to move on. It's a very divided country, and a lot of people voted for Donald Trump, and so they wish the best for him and for his family. And Melania, I must say, has handled herself also with a degree of grace and skill. I mean, she was a professional model after all. So I think everyone does it differently. It's very hard when you have such a huge personality like Donald Trump. He tends to take all the air out of the room. And I think for Melania, that's probably just fine.
See, we're just going to have another listen into what's going on there in White House, if you just stay with us.
I promise you, all school counselors will continue the legacy you have established. We will work to help all students reach higher and achieve their full potential. Thanks also for the American School Counselor Association for the support and professional development that you offer school counselors. I feel so blessed to be a part of an association that truly values its members, one that is intentional about offering the tools and guidance we all need to be successful in our profession. Thank you, American School Counselor Association. Finally, thank you to the other educators here today. I am honored to stand here among you and know that amazing work happens in your building every single day. In a profession where we may not always feel gratitude or immediately see results, I want you to know that your work is greatly appreciated. Take a moment and think about the lives you affect daily through your profession to help others. No other profession is as deeply fulfilling as that of an educator. So let's be intentional about remembering this today, as we are all being recognized for the impact we have on students and families. This impact is multifaceted and critical to our society and our communities. In her speech at the ASCA National Conference in 2014, our First Lady spoke about a ripple effect. She said that ripple effect would spread our influence. Mrs. Obama said we need to be cognizant of not only the child we have helped to transform, but also the family that child will someday raise. We need to think how our work will continue in our students' hearts and minds, as well as the hearts and minds of everyone they touch. Think about that for a moment. That is the power that resides in believing in our young people and doing whatever we can to help them reach their goals and dreams. As you may know, I work in a career center in Western Michigan. A large portion of my role is helping students determine what those first crucial steps will be after graduation and providing them with support they need to make the right decisions. Kyra, one of my students, had a hard time believing in herself and sold herself short in many ways. She did not think she was good enough or smart enough to be successful in high school. Kyra could not see that her passion to help others and her selflessness when dealing with friends and family in need.
Okay, we're just going to leave the White House for the time being as the 2017 School Counselor of the Year goes ahead. We are expecting US First Lady Michelle Obama to speak any moment now. It is her very final speech in the role as the First Lady of the United States of America. So we will bring you that as and when she begins to speak. Stay with us for that. Well, I'm just going to stop you there. It's going to take you straight to Washington, where Michelle Obama is speaking. Let's have a listen in.
Rest yourselves. We're almost at the end. Hello, everyone, and may I say for the last time officially, welcome to the White House. Yes. Well, we are beyond thrilled to have you all here to celebrate the 2017 National School Counselor of the Year, as well as all of our state counselors of the year. These are the fine women and a few good men. One good man who are on this stage, and they represent schools from across this country. And I want to start by thanking Terry for that wonderful introduction and her right on the spot remarks. I'm going to say a lot more about Terry in a few minutes, but first I want to take a moment to acknowledge a few people who were here. First, our outstanding Secretary of Education, John King. As well as our former Education Secretary, Arne Duncan. I want to take this time to thank you both publicly for your dedication and leadership and friendship. We couldn't do this without the support of the Department of Education under both of your leadership. So I'm grateful to you personally, and am very proud of all that you've done for this country. I also want to acknowledge a few other special guests we have in the audience. We've got a pretty awesome crew. You know, as one of my staff said, you roll pretty deep. I'm like, well, yeah, we have a few good friends. We have with us today Ted Allen, Lala Anthony, Connie Britton, Andy Cohen. Yeah, Andy Cohen is here. Carla Hall, Coach Jim Harbaugh, and his beautiful wife, who's a lot better looking than him. Lana Perea, my buddy Jay Farrow, Kelly Rowland, Usher. Keep it down. Keep it together, ladies. Wale is here. And of course, Allison Williams and her mom are here. And all these folks are here because they're using their star power to inspire our young people. And I am so grateful to all of you for stepping up in so many ways, on so many occasions. I feel like I've pestered you over these years, asking time and time again, well, where are you going to be? I'm going to be in New York. Can you come? Can you come here? Can you do this? Can you take that? Can you ask for that? Can you come? Can we rap? Can we sing? So thank you all so much. It really means the world to this initiative to have such powerful, respected, and admired individuals speaking on behalf of this issue. So congratulations on the work that you've done, and we're going to keep working. And today, I especially want to recognize all the extraordinary leadership team that was behind Reach Higher from day one. And this isn't on the script, so they don't know this. I want to take time to personally acknowledge a couple of people. Executive Director Eric Waldo. Where is Eric? You got to step out. Step out there. There goes Eric. Eric's acting like he's a ham, but he likes the spotlight. He's acting a little shy. I want to recognize our Deputy Director, Stephanie Sprouse. Stephanie, back there. And he's really not going to like this because he tries to pretend like he doesn't exist at all, but our Senior Advisor, Greg Darneater. Woo! There you go. Greg has been a leader in education his entire life. I've known him since I was a little organizer person, and it's just been a joy to work with you all. These individuals, they are brilliant, they are creative, they have worked miracles with hardly any staff or budget to speak of, which is how we roll in the First Lady's office. And I am so proud and so grateful to you all for everything that you've done. So let's give them a round of applause. And finally, I want to recognize all of you who are here in this audience. We have our educators, our leaders, our young people who have been with us since we launched Reach Higher back in 2014. Now, when we first came up with this idea, we had one clear goal in mind. We wanted to make higher education cool. We wanted to change the conversation around what it means and what it takes to be a success in this country. Because let's be honest, if we're always shining the spotlight on professional athletes or recording artists or Hollywood celebrities, if those are the only achievements we celebrate, then why would we ever think kids would see college as a priority? So we decided to flip the script and shine a big, bright spotlight on all things educational. For example, we made College Signing Day a national event. We wanted to mimic all that drama and excitement traditionally reserved for those few amazing football and basketball players choosing their college and university teams. We wanted to focus that same level of energy and attention on kids going to college because of their academic achievements. Because as a nation, that's where the spotlight should also be, on kids who work hard in school and do the right thing when no one's watching, many beating daunting odds. Next, we launched Better Make Room. It's a social media campaign to give young people the support and inspiration they need to actually complete higher education. And to really drive that message home, you may recall that I debuted my music career rapping with Jay about getting some knowledge by going to college. We are also very proud of all that this administration has done to make higher education more affordable. We doubled investments in Pell Grants and college tax credits. We expanded income-based loan repayment options for tens of millions of students. We made it easier to apply for financial aid. We created a college scorecard to help students make good decisions about higher education, and we provided new funding and support for school counselors. All together, yes.
Yay! Thank you. You're welcome.
All together, we made in this administration the largest investment in higher education since the GI Bill. And today, the high school graduation rate is at a record high, and more young people than ever before are going to college. And we know that school counselors, like all of the folks standing with me on this stage, have played a critical role in helping us get there. In fact, a recent study showed that students who met with a school counselor to talk about financial aid or college were 3 times more likely to attend college, and they were nearly 7 times more likely to apply for financial aid. So our school counselors are truly among the heroes of the Reach Higher story. And that's why we created this event 2 years ago, because we thought that they should finally get some recognition. We wanted everyone to know about the difference that these phenomenal men and women have been making in the lives of our young people every day. And our 2017 School Counselor of the Year, Terry Trzynski, is a perfect example. As you heard, Terry works at the Calhoun Area Career Center, a career and technical education school in Michigan. And here's what Terry's principal said about her in his letter of recommendation. He said, once she identifies a systemic need, she works tirelessly to address it. So when students at Terry's school reported feeling unprepared to apply for higher education, Terry sprang into action to create a school-wide, top-to-bottom college readiness effort. Under Terry's leadership, more students than ever before attended workshops on resume writing, FAFSA completion, yes, I can now say FAFSA, and interview preparation. I can barely say it. They did career and personality assessments. They helped plan a special college week, and they organized a military day, hosting recruiters from all branches of our armed forces. And because of these efforts today, 75% of Calhoun's seniors now complete key college application steps, and Terry's school has won state and national recognition. And all of this is just one small part of what Terry does for her students each day. I can go on and on about all the time she spends one-on-one with students, helping them figure out their life path. Terry told us, as you heard, she told us about one of those students, so we reached out to Kyra. And here's what Kyra had to say in her own words. Kyra wrote that Mrs. Trzynski has helped me grow to love myself. She helped me with my doubts and insecurities. She said, my life has changed for the better in all aspects. Kyra said she held my hand through my hardest times. She said, Mrs. Trzynski is my lifesaver. That's what Kyra said. And this is what each of you do every single day. You see the promise in each of your students. You believe in them even when they can't believe in themselves, and you work tirelessly to help them be who they were truly meant to be. And you do it all in the face of some overwhelming challenges, tight budgets, impossible student counselor ratios. Yeah, amen. Endless demands on you to reach into your own pockets. And see, we got the amen corner.
Amen.
You stick with students in their darkest moments, when they're most anxious and afraid. And if anyone is dealing with a college senior or junior, you know what this feels like. These men and women show them that those kids matter, that they have something to offer, that no matter where they're from or how much money their parents have, no matter what they look like or who they love or how they worship or what language they speak at home, they have a place in this country. And as I end my time in the White House, I can think of no better message to send to our young people in my last official remarks as First Lady. So for all the young people in this room and those who are watching, know that this country belongs to you, to all of you, from every background and walk of life. If you or your parents are immigrants, know that you are part of a proud American tradition, the infusion of new cultures, talents, and ideas, generation after generation, that has made us the greatest country on earth. If your family doesn't have much money, I want you to remember that in this country, plenty of folks, including me and my husband, we started out with very little, but with a lot of hard work and a good education, anything is possible, even becoming president. That's what the American dream is all about. And if you are a person of faith, know that religious diversity is a great American tradition too. In fact, that's why people first came to this country, to worship freely. And whether you are Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Hindu, Sikh, these religions are teaching our young people about justice and compassion and honesty. So I want our young people to continue to learn and practice those values with pride. You see, our glorious diversity, our diversities of faiths and colors and creeds, that is not a threat to who we are. It makes us who we are. So to the young people here, and the young people out there, do not ever let anyone make you feel like you don't matter or like you don't have a place in our American story, because you do. And you have a right to be exactly who you are. Yes. But I also want to be very clear. This right isn't just handed to you. No, this right has to be earned every single day. You cannot take your freedoms for granted. Now, just like generations who've come before you, you have to do your part to preserve and protect those freedoms. And that starts right now, when you're young. Right now, you need to be preparing yourself to add your voice to our national conversation. You need to prepare yourself to be informed and engaged as a citizen, to serve and to lead, to stand up for our proud American values and to honor them in your daily lives. And that means getting the best education possible so you can think critically, so you can express yourself clearly, so you can get a good job and support yourself and your family, so you can be a positive force in your communities. And when you encounter obstacles, because I guarantee you, you will, and many of you already have, when you are struggling and you start thinking about giving up, I want you to remember something that my husband and I have talked about since we first started this journey nearly a decade ago. Something that has carried us through every moment in this White House and every moment of our lives. And that is the power of hope. The belief that something better is always possible if you're willing to work for it and fight for it. It is our fundamental belief in the power of hope that has allowed us to rise above the voices of doubt and division, of anger and fear that we have faced in our own lives and in the life of this country. Our hope that if we work hard enough and believe in ourselves, then we can be whatever we dream, regardless of the limitations that others may place on us. The hope that when people see us for who we truly are, maybe, just maybe, they too will be inspired to rise to their best possible selves. That is the hope of students like Kyra, who fight to discover their gifts and share them with the world. It's the hope of school counselors like Terry and all these folks up here who guide those students every step of the way, refusing to give up on even a single young person. Shoot, it's the hope of my folks like my dad, who got up every day, do his job at the city water plant. The hope that one day his kids would go to college and have opportunities he never dreamed of. That's the kind of hope that every single one of us, politicians, parents, preachers, all of us, need to be providing for our young people, because that is what moves this country forward every single day. Our hope for the future and the hard work that hope inspires. So that's my final message to young people as First Lady. It is simple. I want our young people to know that they matter, that they belong. So don't be afraid. You hear me? Young people, don't be afraid. Be focused. Be determined. Be hopeful. Be empowered. Empower yourselves with a good education. Then get out there and use that education to build a country worthy of your boundless promise. Lead by example with hope, never fear. And know that I will be with you, rooting for you and working to support you for the rest of my life. And that is true, I know, for every person who is here today, and for educators and advocates all across this nation who get up every day and work their hearts out to lift up our young people. And I am so grateful to all of you for your passion and your dedication and all the hard work on behalf of our next generation. And I can think of no better way to end my time as First Lady than celebrating with all of you. So I want to close today by simply saying thank you. Thank you for everything you do for our kids and for our country. Being your First Lady has been the greatest honor of my life, and I hope I've made you proud. Thank you.
Okay, well, that was a very emotional Michelle Obama, who was well received by a very emotional school counsellors. It is the very last time that she will be speaking publicly as the First Lady of the United States. She addressed a number of issues. She spoke about the importance of education. She spoke about the initiatives that the Obama administration have brought in to improve the lives of the young people. She spoke about tax credits, financial aid, the largest investments in education since the GI Bill, which was introduced back in 1944, which provided a range of benefits for returning World War II veterans. And then she had a final, very emotional message to the young people of America. And she really ended it with that message of hope, that anything was possible if you put your mind to it and you work hard and you have a good education. Let's talk to our US correspondent. Yeah, so she spoke about other issues, highlighting the importance of education, speaking about the power of hope, talking about diversity, the importance of diversity, what that means, the importance of religious diversity and the good things that come out of that. So Michelle Obama speaking there, talking to counselors, school counselors in her very final speech, a very poignant speech, speaking about the successes of the Obama administration. Final speech as the First Lady of the United States. She has been very vocal during her time, her 8 years in the office as the First Lady of the United States, been very vocal, championing various efforts about education, fitness, military families, and had garnered some criticism in the early stages of President Obama's administration after she had spoken about concerns about becoming First Lady. She had spoken about concerns about Obama becoming president because of the effect that that would have on the family and more specifically the two children. But over that time, over that 8-year period, we saw her role very much evolve and her taking a lead in a number of campaigns and a number of initiatives. Let's talk to our US correspondent, Cordelia Lynch, who was live in Washington. A very emotional address by Michelle Obama.
Hello, Gamal. Yes, it was, in breaking voice towards the end of that. As you say, she championed children, education, fought against childhood obesity, tried to support veterans also. And there was a suggestion at the beginning of her tenure that she was reluctant to step into the fray, to get involved in the mosh pit of politics. But she developed a political voice that many presidents would simply have dreamed of. And we saw over the last year, of course, that she was a potent political force in rallying Democrats around Hillary Clinton, providing the sort of searing rhetoric that they were hoping for. We'll remember that phrase, when they go low, we go high. And I think what we saw today was a very fitting bookend to her time, surrounded by children, supporting the work of counsellors in school. It's something that we have seen her talk about and advocate for across the world. But there was also a veiled critique, though no mention of the president-elect by name, of the division within the country and the importance that she and her husband, President Obama, put on unity, acceptance and diversity. And this notion of hope, of course, that her husband came to power with. And we heard recently in an interview that she did with Oprah Winfrey that she felt that people were losing sense of hope and that it was vital that they held on to that, but they also fought for what they wanted to see in this country. So an eloquent, an emotional speech, and what will be regarded, I think, by many as a unifying one too. Tonight, the President Obama and Michelle Obama are due to have many celebrities along at a party at the White House. Some of those were in the front row of that speech she delivered today. People like Usher, will have people from the sporting worlds as well as the music worlds as well. And really, I think that's what many will remember about Michelle Obama, that she was very comfortable to embrace the sort of late night talk show TV hosts, taking part in things like carpool karaoke, dancing on some shows. But latterly, I think over the course of 2016, we saw her emerge as this figure, political figure that really went above party. And I think we heard some of that sort of language and rallying cry in that speech today, surrounded by the children that we've heard her address so often in London, where that started in 2009, considered to have been really the beginning of her push for education, and subsequently in many different plates.
And Cordelia, in recent weeks and recent months, we've seen some people in some circles calling for her to stand for public office. That's somewhat unlikely?
Yes, I'm afraid she quashed that Democrat dream in that interview with Oprah Winfrey, but also previously as well. I think there was a sense that she was always reluctant to be in the political spotlight. She increasingly gained a political voice, but seems to have no interest in taking that highest of positions. She did say in her interview that Americans need to realize just how hard it is and how much it requires of your family. She fought to protect the privacy of her daughters who went to school here, and one who is still attending. That's why they're going to be staying in Washington, D.C. over the next year. But she was a hugely successful lawyer in Chicago. She took her work in the community very seriously, but it was always her connection with real people, one-on-one, that she seemed to be focused on, rather than what was going on in Capitol Hill behind me. She said on election night that she went to bed without hearing the results. She doesn't like to embrace all the pundits and the commentary. Instead, she was focused on the nation and the people behind it.
OK, Cordelia, thank you. Cordelia Lynch in Washington there for us.
I've been getting away with it all